Hey everyone, I'm Shannon with Visit Great Falls. Today we're taking a deep dive, breaking down everything you need to know about the 2024 vehicle reservation system in Glacier National Park. This is the fourth year of this system, and we're going to lay it all out for you so it's clear, so you know how to plan your trip for 2024. So we are bringing in our friend Jenna Eisnogel. Hello, how are you?
Good to see you again.
Yes, good to see you as well. And thanks for being here to help break all of this information down because it can be, a bit overwhelming. There's some changes year in and year out to this system. But this is the result of surveys you did, feedback you got from last year. So I guess first, can you just tell us a little bit about some of the feedback you got and why some of the changes were made?
Sure, that's a great question. We have put a tremendous amount of time into getting visitor feedback, getting feedback from our stakeholders within the community. We did a big public comment period this past fall. We received over 1,400 comments from visitors and businesses and people who were just interested in what was going on in Glacier. So we also have been able to use a lot of the information from the previous pilots over the last 3 years. We've been able to really gather a lot of data and look at how long people are staying in the park, how many days they're using their passes, where their visitor patterns are, and have been able to, I think, dial it in a lot tighter for the 2024 season.
And the reason, like we said, this is the fourth year of this program. For people who maybe don't understand why they have to have this, tell us a little bit about why there is a reservation system to start with.
Well, Glacier National Park is no longer our secret. For many years, we were able to enjoy this park without large crowds that you see at maybe some of the other popular parks. But we have just got to the point now where we have so many visitors coming to see the splendor and beauty of Glacier National Park that it became an issue where we have overcrowding, we have gridlock on the going to the Sun Road, we reach the maximum amount of vehicles that can park within some of the areas like Mini Glacier. And not that the parking situation is going to be solved because we just will never be able to build enough parking lots. But we will at least be able to improve the visitors' experience so that when they come to the park, they're not spending their whole time fighting traffic. It was just it's basic supply and demand. We had more people and not enough real estate as far as road systems to fit everybody in. So we have had to try to figure out some way to manage our visitor use in the park. And we started ticketing. The ticketed entry was what we called it the first year, and then we have changed the name since to vehicle reservations so that people can kind of get an idea in their mind that, okay, I need to make a hotel reservation. I also need to make a vehicle reservation to drive the Going to the Sun Road. So that's
And
where we're
before,
at today.
yeah, and before we break down kind of the specifics of the system this year, we'll put maps of things like that on the screen for people to see. But something we often hear too is, we know there's Going to the Sun Road. That's the main way you get across within the park. But can you kind of give a broad overview of how many entrances there are, kind of how people access the park? So then when we talk about entrances, it makes a little more sense for people.
Sure, we talk about Going to the Sun Road, and that's our main artery. That is what we call it in the park, and it's the only road that goes through the middle of the park up over the Continental Divide inside the park. Logan Pass is at the top of the Continental Divide, and that road does not connect to any other roads. The other entrances into the park on the west side is the North Fork. You can enter right there by the community of Polebridge into the North Fork area of the park. Then on the east side, you can enter at Mini Glacier, and Mini Glacier is a narrow valley. It's one way in, one way out. It does not connect to any other road systems within the park. And then there's also Two Medicine where you can enter. And Cut Bank is also along that eastern line, the Cut Bank Creek area, where we have some camping in the back and hiking.
Which is different for people if they're looking at a map. What the Cut Bank you're talking about is different than the town of Cut Bank, which is just further east on Highway 2 outside the park.
Correct.
Okay. Yes.
And then we have the main entrance points for going to the Sun Road. You can enter going to the Sun from the east entrance at St. Mary, or you can enter at West Glacier at our west entrance.
Okay. I think that helps give kind of a concept of the different entrances and where you can access different things. Okay, so now let's get into a breakdown of what's required, where you need those vehicle reservations for 2024.
Okay, so this year, the places where you need a reservation, a vehicle reservation, is the North Fork, which is up in the northwest corner of the park, and West Glacier to enter the Going to the Sun Road from the west side, and Mini Glacier. And the Mini Glacier Valley is north of the St. Mary entrance of Going to the Sun Road. So that's up in that northeastern corner of the park.
And something I was excited about, because obviously we're in Great Falls, so we and our visitors enter through the east side of the park typically. And I was really excited about this, not only as a Montana resident, but also for our visitors coming, is that new this year, if you're accessing Going to the Sun Road, if you're entering that from the east side, you do not need a vehicle reservation, correct?
That is correct. If you're entering Going to the Sun Road at the St. Mary entrance, you do not need a vehicle reservation for any part of the 2024 season. You do need a reservation if you're entering from the west side at West Glacier. And on the east side, you also need a reservation for Mini Glacier, but you do not need one for Two Medicine or Cut Bank.
Okay. And that is, so if I wanted to enter from St. Mary to connect to Going to the Sun Road, I can go to the west area, hang out there and come back. I don't need, it doesn't matter how far I'm going along Going to the Sun, don't need that reservation for that entrance.
Yes, except do not go out the west entrance because you will not be able to come back in. You'll have to take Highway 2 back around to the east side. New this year also on the west side at the west entrance, it used to be that before you even got to the entrance station, the rangers would check for your vehicle reservation along there. And then if you didn't have a vehicle reservation, they would turn you around. Based on a lot of the comments we received during that public comment period, we have moved the filter station. When I say filter station, I mean where you will be asked if you have a vehicle reservation. You will be able to now enter the west entrance, go all the way into Apgar Village and into Apgar Campground. You can go over to Fish Creek Campground. The Apgar Visitor Center will all be accessible without a vehicle reservation. Just past the turnoff for the Apgar Campground will be the filter station. That's where rangers will be on the road and they will ask you for a vehicle reservation to continue driving eastbound on Going to the Sun Road. So if you are westbound, if you come in the east entrance at St. Mary driving west, do not go past that filter station at or near Apgar Campground, because you will not be able to come back in until after 3 p.m. without a vehicle reservation. Now, if you go out and you decide you don't want to come back until after 3 p.m., you're good to go. But don't go out to West Glacier, like say for lunch at noon, and have a hamburger and then turn around at 2 o'clock to try to go back over Going to the Sun Road, because you will need a vehicle reservation to enter back into that part of the park.
Okay, that's a good clarification to know, because I could see people wanting to go, like you said, grab lunch or something and then not be able to get back the same way they came. Is there a good turnaround point? Will there be kind of an obvious spot where that is so people don't drive right past that?
Those are some of the details we're still figuring out.
Gotcha.
This will be our first time moving that filter station up to that part of the park, because visitors really wanted to be able to get at least to the visitor center.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that are really popular at Glacier National Park are our passport books, and you can get them at any national park, and you get a stamp in your passport book for visiting that park. Super popular. The other thing is Junior Rangers program, super popular with kids. They were not able to get to the visitor center without a vehicle reservation to be able to get those stamps and to get their Junior Ranger badge. So now you will be able to access the visitor center for those purposes, but you will need a vehicle reservation to go past that up Going to the Sun Road.
Okay. And the Apgar Village, does that include the Lake McDonald area so people can access Lake McDonald without needing a reservation?
The foot of Lake McDonald
Yes.
will be accessible. You can go out on the lake, get your selfie with Lake McDonald in the background. And the
Yeah.
other thing that you can access is the park shuttle system, which is a free shuttle starting at the visitor center, Apgar Visitor Center.
Great. So you hinted at this a little bit, and this has changed a little bit over the years as well, but there's a time frame where vehicle reservations are required, and you can skirt that a little bit if you're willing to get up early or hang out a little bit later. So talk about the time frame of those.
Sure. So I also should go over the dates with you. So
Yes.
you will need reservations, vehicle reservations for going to the Sun Road, May 24 through September 8. So if you come in before May 24 or you come in September 9th, you do not need a vehicle reservation. The North Fork is the same dates, May 24 through September 8. Mini Glacier is a little bit different. You do not need a reservation for Mini Glacier until July 1 through September 8. All of the locations, all 3 locations where you need vehicle reservations, if you go in before 6 a.m. or after 3 p.m., you do not need a vehicle reservation. So it's that core time between 6 a.m. and 3 p.m. that you'll need a vehicle reservation. And that is because we are trying to spread the visitation out so that we have people coming in at different times, so we don't have these peak times, or there still are going to be peak times, but we're shaving the top off of those peak times so they're not quite such a sharp bell curve of when people are coming in. Honestly, if you want to hike the High Line or Hidden Lake, you will need to be past the entrance before 6 a.m. anyway to be able to get a parking space at Logan Pass.
Yeah, because that's the other part of this too, is the whole parking component and access to some of these trails. Yeah.
And as you know, Shannon, in Montana, it stays light until 10 or 11 o'clock at night in the middle of the summer. So
Yeah.
coming in after 3 p.m. is not such a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And those evening drives over going to the Sun Road are just magical. It's just beautiful that time of day.
Absolutely. One of my favorite things about summers here is the beautiful light that we have late, and it's a great place to see it. Real quick, when we're talking about the dates available, specifically when we're talking about going to the Sun, just also want to make people aware, because we have visitors that come in May or early June and want to go drive going to the Sun Road. The thing is, there's a lot of snow up there still, and it's a flexible date every year. That's when it opens. So can you just speak to that a little bit to let people know that even though you can start making those reservations in May, that doesn't necessarily mean you'll be able to drive it.
Great point. So starting April 1, the road crew starts trying to clear the snow from different areas of the park. They start down low first, and they start digging out Two Medicine and Camas Road and clearing the road up past Avalanche. But so even though April 1, our road crew starts to get busy, they don't necessarily get on going to the Sun Road for another maybe week or so. And then they start trying to clear the snow and the avalanche runs and the debris off of the road. And then they also have to put in about 400 guardrails. Those guardrails are temporary. They go in every season at the beginning of the season. They come out every fall. And those are in the areas where avalanche runs occur. So if we leave the guardrails in, they just get torn out by avalanches. We have 42 avalanche areas along going to the Sun Road. So that's a huge job getting those guardrails in and out. Once the road is cleared, those guardrails in, we have to make sure the visitor center has potable water, has operating bathrooms, because when you get a lot of people, you got to have bathrooms and you've got to have water. So we need to get the visitor center up and ready to be able to take high volumes of visitors. So that all is a process, and we try to get it open by end of June or beginning July. This last year we were able to get it open earlier than we have. I think it was the 4th earliest time on record of getting it open. I don't quote me on this, but I think it was open by June 9th or something like that was when the road opened. Previous year, didn't open until July 13th. It was a rough year that year. We kept getting avalanches. Road crew would go through, clear the road, another avalanche would come through. So it just depends on what's going on up on top, how much snow we have, what kind of spring we have, if it's a warm spring, wet spring. And what we say here at the park is Mother Nature decides when Going to the Sun Road opens, we just assist.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. All right, some good information there. Another change for 2024 is the time frame in which your reservation is valid for. It was 3 days and now it's down to 1 day or 24 hours for that reservation, correct?
Correct. So the other areas of the park, besides Going to the Sun Road, North Fork's always been 1 day. Mini Glacier last year was 1 day. Going to the Sun Road was 3 days last year. And what we found from scanning the QR codes associated with those reservations, we found out that visitors were only, I think it was 20% or something like that, were using it for 2 days. An even smaller percent, I want to say 2 to 4% were using it more than 1 day. And a very small percentage were using it for all 3 days. So we have gone to a 1 day reservation, and what that does is it allows us to be able to make more vehicle reservations available theoretically. Of course, we're also going to account for how many people will be driving around to the east side coming through that St. Mary entrance because they won't need a reservation, which is a fantastic option for our visitors. And we'll have to watch the numbers and see what we get for traffic through the east side. But we think that we will be able to at least offer a fraction more reservations by going to the 1 day.
So this year, there are also rolling reservation systems and more spontaneous reservation options, and there's a little bit of a change in those this year as well. Can you explain how people can make these reservations and when?
Sure. So a portion of the reservations will become available 120 days in advance, and it will be on a rolling basis. So on January 25, reservations for May 24th will come available. On January 26th, reservations for May 25th will come available, and so on and so forth. Those are available on recreation.gov, and again, starting January 25 at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. Then, if you aren't able to get a reservation, or if you're like, maybe you're more spontaneous in your travel plans, or you live in the state of Montana and you decide, oh, hey, why don't we go hike in Glacier National Park tomorrow? We used to have what was called 24-hour advance reservations. They would come available at 8 a.m. for the next day. And what we found in, again, our visitor comments and talking with people in the community, and also talking to some of our other sister parks in the Park Service that have similar reservation systems, we found that the evening reservation is better because people can then come home from work, they can get online, and they can be talking to their friends that day and say, what do you think about going and hiking in the glacier tomorrow? They can get on their computer that night at 7 p.m., make the reservation for the very next morning. So it's no longer 24 hours, it's less than 24 hours. So we don't call them 24-hour anymore, we call them next day reservations. We also found that people are, some of our other sister parks had them available at 5 p.m. Well, a lot of people aren't home from work yet by 5 p.m. So the 7 p.m. works better. And with the 8 a.m., what would happen is somebody would come to the park, say at 9 or 10 in the morning, and they would find out they needed a reservation. They don't have a reservation. So then our staff would say, well, you can get a vehicle reservation. And they'd say, can I get it for today? Nope, all the reservations today are sold out. So, okay, so then the reservation comes available tomorrow morning at 8. Yes. And so then I can go in tomorrow. No, that reservation is for the next day. So now they're 2 days out on their reservation before they can get into the park. That is, if they don't come in outside those 6 to 3 hours.
Yeah.
So we're going with 7 p.m. this year to see if that helps people with their planning a little better.
And to clarify on the 120-day out system, last year it was broken into kind of month by month. So on this day, the reservations in advance for this particular time frame would go out. Am I hearing you correctly that this year it's 120 days basically from every day?
Every day, correct. So last year we tried a block release for the full month so that if say somebody was coming on vacation, they wanted 3 days in July that they were coming, they could make all 3 days of that reservation at once. But again, like we said, we found out that people aren't coming back all 3 of those days. Very low percentage. We're coming back and using that for all 3 days. So we're going back to the rolling basis, and it's day by day. You'll have to have a reservation. If you want to come July 6th, you will have to get a reservation for July 6th. Then you'll have to come back online and get a reservation for July 7th, the next day. So for example, if you wanted to come into the park on July 6th, the reservation will become available on recreation.gov on March 8th.
Okay.
So on March 8th, you would get online, get your 120-day advance reservation. Then on March 9th, you would get your July 7th reservation, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yep. So if you want to plan for multiple days, you'll have to get online to get that multiple days in a row ahead of time.
Correct.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying. I know that was a change this year as well, so wanted to make sure we got that correct. Anything people need to know about camping inside of the park in terms of reservations, or if they are coming in with some type of lodging inside the park, something else booked inside the park, can you address those?
Sure. One of the things that may be a pro or a con for people depending on your situation, but we had a lot of people who were frustrated that they would go to the campgrounds and there was reports of camp spaces sitting empty that were reserved, but people reserved them so that they could use that in lieu of a vehicle reservation. So if there was a campsite there for any of the campgrounds that were along Going to the Sun Road inside the filter station, you could use your campground reservation in lieu of a vehicle reservation or instead of a vehicle reservation. So this year what we did is by changing the spot where you have to have a vehicle reservation past the Apgar Village, that leaves a lot of those campgrounds where you don't have to have a vehicle reservation to go in and get your first come, first serve campsites. And it also prevents people from making campground reservations with no intention of ever using those campground reservations. We want those available for people who really do truly want to camp. So the positive of not having reservations at St. Mary as a requirement, and also moving the filter station past the Apgar Village, there's only 2 campgrounds then that are within the reservation area on Going to the Sun Road. One is Avalanche, the other one is Sprague Creek. All the rest of the campgrounds are outside of the vehicle reservation system.
Okay.
So we hope that's going to help with the situation. The bad side of that is you now do need a vehicle reservation. Even if you have a campsite, you will need a vehicle reservation. If you're an Apgar campground, you will need a vehicle reservation to be able to go past Apgar. If you're in Fish Creek campground, you'll need a vehicle reservation.
So you will have to book your campsite and then also your vehicle reservation. You'll need the vehicle reservation in order to be able to access your campsite.
Yes, just
so
really
that doesn't automatically come with it.
Correct. Just really be paying attention where in those reservation areas those campsites lie when you make your reservation. And you can look at the graphics that we have on our website. It'll show you where that reservation area is, and just check and make sure what's going on with your campsite. However, if you're at a campsite right outside of the area, the checkpoint, you are in great shape to get up before 6 a.m. and get into
Very
the park.
true. Very true. Okay, so just know when you make a camping reservation within those boundaries, it does not automatically come with a vehicle reservation included.
Right.
Okay.
Now I'm going to give you the exception to that.
Okay.
So Avalanche Campground and Sprague Creek, we've already talked about that along Going to the Sun Road. Those are within the reservation area. So if you have a campsite reservation for those, you can use that as your vehicle reservation. Many Glacier, if you have a camp reservation at Many Glacier, then that can be used in lieu of a vehicle reservation because that's past the checkpoint.
Okay.
If you have a lodging reservation, such as the Many Glacier Hotel or the Lake McDonald Lodge, those reservations also get you past the checkpoint for vehicle reservation. So you just show your reservation for those. Also, boat tours. If you have a boat tour on Many Glacier, or you have a boat tour on Lake McDonald, those can be used instead of a vehicle reservation.
Okay.
But really pay attention, because boat tour on Two Medicine, you don't need a vehicle reservation to get into Two Medicine, but your boat tour at Two Medicine does not get you on going to the Sun Road.
Right.
So you have to really just be really watching where you're making those reservations.
Okay. Good to know. So just be vigilant. Pay attention to details when you're booking. Is there anything that we missed that you feel is important for people to know when they're planning their trip?
I would just really pay attention to when those reservations come available. If you want to get the 120-day in advance, you can go on. So one thing we didn't talk about is where you get these reservations.
Yes.
Those are available on recreation.gov. That's recreation.gov, not registration.gov, not, a lot of people get that confused.
Yeah.
It's recreation.gov. You can go online right now and set up your account. You'll have to have a username and password. It's really good to have that set up in advance, so you're not messing around with that on the day you're trying to get your reservation. So get that set up in advance. On the day that your reservation comes available, so again, say you want to come to the park on consulting my calendar here, say you wanted to come in on July 8th, March 10th is when that reservation comes available on recreation.gov at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. So if you're in a different time zone, be paying attention to that as well, that you're on Mountain Time. Get logged in, and before 8 a.m., like I would get on at 7:45, get logged in, navigated to the page where the Glacier National Park reservations are available, get on the Going to the Sun Road page. If that's the reservation you're trying to make, just make sure you're on the right one. And by when the clock strikes 8, you are putting your reservation in your shopping cart, because those reservations do go very fast. The North Fork ones go the fastest, followed by Many Glacier, and then Going to the Sun Road, but they will be gone within the hour.
All right. All good stuff to know. We sure appreciate your time and helping us to break down all of this information that we need. Thank you so much. We sure appreciate it.
You're welcome. And one last thing, if you have any questions about the vehicle reservation system, you can call our information desk at 406-888-7800. And when the automated message comes on, if you press 1, it will take you to our vehicle reservation call center, and they can answer any question you have about vehicle reservations.
All right. Great resource there. Jenna Icenogle, thank you so much. Or Icenogle, there we go. Thank you so much. We sure appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure.